Hello, Mark. I'm Adam. My number is S0341008, and my level is sophomore. Today I'll read A Boat Carrying 500 Refugees Sunk at Sea, The Story of Two Survivors, by Melissa Fleming. Every day I listen to harrowing stories of people fearing for their lives across dangerous borders and unfriendly seas. But there's one story that keeps me awake at night, and it's about Dor, a Syrian furige, 19 years old. She was living a grinding existence in Egypt, working days, wages. Her dad was constantly thinking of his thriving business back in Syria and that had been blown to pieces by a bomb. And the war that drove them there was still raging in its fourth year, and the community that once welcomed them there had become wary of them. And one day, men of motorcycles tried to kidnap her. Once an aspiring student thinking only of her future, now she was scared all the time. But she was also full of hope, because she was in love with a fellow Syria refugee named Basim. Basim was also trying in Egypt, and he said to Dar, "Let's go to Europe, seek asylum, safety. I will work. You can study, the promise of new life." And he asked her father for her hand in marriage. But they knew to get to Europe they had to risk their lives, traveling across the Mediterranean Sea, putting their hands in smugglers notorious for their cruelty. And Dora was terrified of the water. She always had been. She never learned to swim. It was August that year, and already 2,000 people had died trying to cross the Mediterranean. But Dora knew of a friend who had made it all the way to Northern Europe, and she thought, maybe we can too. So she asked her parents if they could go, and after a painful discussion, they consented, and Basin paid his entire life savings, $2,500 each, to the smugglers. It was a Saturday morning when the call came, and they were taken by bus to beach. Hundreds of people on the beach. They were taken then by small boats onto an old fishing boat. 500 of them crammed onto that boat. 300 below, 500 above. There were Syrians, Palestinians, Africans, Muslims and Christians. 100 children, including Sandra, little Sandra, 6 years old, and Masa, 18 months. There were families on that boat, crammed together shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet. Dora was sitting with her legs crammed up to her chest, Basin holding her hand. Day 2 on the water. They were sick with worry and sick to their stomachs from the rock sea. Day 3, Dora had a premonition, and she said to Basin, "I fear we are not going to make it. I fear the boat is going to sink." And Basin said to her, "Please be patient. We will make it to Sweden. We will get married and we will have a future." Day 4, the passengers were getting agitated. They asked the captain, "When will we get there?" He said them to shut up, and he insulted them. He said, "In 16 hours we will reach the shores of Italy." They were weak and weary. Soon they saw a boat approach, a smaller boat. 10 men on board, who started shouting at them, hurling insults, throwing sticks, accident to all disembark and get on this smaller, more unseaworthy boat. The parents were terrified for their children, and they collectively refused to disembark. So the boat sped away in anger, and a half of an hour later came back and started deliberately running a hole in the side of Dora's boat, just below where she and Basin were sitting, and she heard how they yelled, "Let the fish eat your flesh," and they started laying eggs. The boat capsized and sank. The 300 people below deck were doomed. Dora was holding onto the side of the boat at distance, watching older as the small child was cut to pieces by the propeller. Basin said to her, "Please let go, or you will be swept in, and the propeller will kill you too. And remember, she can swim." But she let go and she started moving her arms and her legs, thinking, "This is swimming." And miraculously, Basin found the life ring. It was on one of those children's rings that they used to play in swimming pool and sand on calm seas. And Dora climbed onto the ring, her arms and her legs straining by the side. Basin was a good swimmer, so he held her hand and tread water. Around them there were corpses. Around 100 people survived instantly, and they started coming together in groups, paying for rescue. But when the day went by and no one came, some people gave up hope, and Dora and Basin watched as men in the distance took their life vests off and sank into the water. One man approached them with a small baby perched on his shoulder. 9 months old, Malik. He was holding on to a gas canister to stave at float, and he said to them, "I fear I'm not going to survive. I'm too weak. I don't have the courage anymore." And he handed little Malik over to Basin and to Donna, and they perched her onto a life ring. So now there were three, Dora, Basin, and little Malik. And let me take a pause in the story right here and ask a question. Why do refugees like Dora take these kinds of risks? Millions of refugees are living in exile, in limbo. They are living in countries fleeing from a war that has been raging for 4 years. Even if they wanted to return, they can't. Their homes, their business, their towns, and their cities have been completely destroyed. This is a UNESCO World Heritage City, Homs, in Syria. So people continue to flee into neighboring countries, and we built refuge camps for them in the desert. Hundreds of thousands of people living in camps like this, and thousands more. Millions live in towns and cities, and the communities in neighboring countries that once welcomed them with open arms and hearts are overwhelmed. There are simply not enough schools, water systems, sanitation. Even rich European countries could never handle such an influx without massive investment. The Syria war has driven almost 4 million people over borders, but over 7 million people are on the run inside the country. That means that over half of the Syria population has been forced to flee back to those neighboring countries hosting so many. They feel that the richer world has done too little to support them, and days have turned into months, months into years. Her refugee stay is supposed to be temporary. Back to Doha and the basin in the water. It was their second day, and Basin was getting very weak. And now it was Doa's turn to say to Basin, "My love, please hold on to hope, to our future. We will make it." And he said to her, "I'm sorry, my love, that I put you in this situation. I've never loved anyone as much as I love you." And he released himself into the water. And Doa watched as the love of her life drowned before her eyes. Later that day, a mother came up to Doa with her small 18-month-old daughter, Masa. This was the little girl I showed you in the picture earlier, with the life vest. Her older sister Sandra had just drowned, and her mother knew she had to do everything in her power to save her daughter. And she said to Doa, "Please take these children. Let her be part of you. I will not survive." And then she went away and drowned. So Doa, the 19-year-old refuge who was terrified of the water, who couldn't swim, found herself in charge of two little baby kids. And they were thirsty, and they were hungry, and they were agitated. And she tried her best to amuse them, to sing to them, to say words to them from the Quran. Around them, the bodies were brooding and turning black. The sun was blazing during the day. At night there was a cold moon and fog. It was very frightening. On the fourth day in the water, this is how Doa probably looked on the ring with her two children. A woman came on the fourth day and approached her and asked her to take another child, a little boy, just 4 years old. When Doa took the little boy and the mother drowned, she said to the sobbing child, "She just went away to find you water and food." But his heart soon stopped, and Doa had to release the little boy into the water. Later that day, she looked up into the sky with hope, 'cause she saw two planets crossing in the sky, and she waved her arms, hoping they would see her. The planes were soon gone. By that afternoon, as the sun was going under, she saw a boat, a merchant vessel, and she said, "Please God, let them rescue me." She waved her arms and she felt like she shouted for about 2 hours, and it had become dark. But finally the searchers found her and they extended a rope, astonished to see a woman crouching on two babies. They pulled them onto the boat. They got oxygen and blankets, and the great helicopter came to pick them up and take them to the island of Crete. They pulled them onto, but Doa looked down and asked, "What of Malik?" And they told her the little baby did not survive. She drew her last breath in the boat's clinic. But Doa was sure that as they had been pulled out onto a rescue boat, the little baby girl had been smothered. Only 11 people survived that wreck of the 500. There was never an international investigation into what happened. There were some media reports about mass murder at sea, a terrible tragedy, but that was only for one day, and then the news cycle moved on. Meanwhile, in a pediatric hospital on Crete, little Martha was on the edge of death. She was already dehydrated. Her kidneys were failing, Her glucose levels were dangerously low. The doctors said everything in their medical power to save them, and the Greek nurses never left her side, holding her, hugging her, singing her words. My colleagues also visited and said pretty words to her in Arabic. Amazingly, little Masa survived. As soon as the Greek press started reporting about the miracle baby, who had survived 4 days in the water without food or anything to drink. Offers to adopt her came from all over the country. And meanwhile, Doa was in another hospital on Crete, thin, dehydrated, and Egyptian family took her into their home as soon as she was released, and soon word went around about Doa's survival, and the phone number was published on Facebook. Messages started coming in. Doa, do you know what happened to my brother, my sister, my parents, my friend? Do you know if they survived? One of those messages said, I believe you saved my little nieces, Masa, and it had this photo. This was from Masa's uncle, a Syrian refugee who had made it to Sweden with his family and also Masa's older sister. Soon, we hope, Masa will be reunited with him in Sweden, and until then, she's been cared for a beautiful orphanage in Athens. And Donna, well, word went around about her survivals too, and the media wrote about this slight woman, and couldn't imagine how she could survive all the time under such conditions in the Dead Sea, and still save another life. The Academy of Athens, one of Greece's most prestigious institutions, gave her an award of bravery, and she deserves all the praise, and she deserves a second chance. But she wants to still go to Sweden. She wants to reunite with her family there. She wants to bring her mother and her father and her younger siblings away from Egypt there as well. And I believe she will succeed. She wants to become a lawyer or a politician for something that can help fight injustice. She is an extraordinary survivor. But I have to ask, why if she didn't have to take that risk? Why did she have to go through all that? Why wasn't there a legal way for her to study in Europe? Why couldn't Masa have taken an airplane to Sweden? Why couldn't Basan have found work? Why is there no massive resettlement project for Syria refugees? The victims of the worst war of all times, the world did this for the Vietnamese in the 1960s. Why not now? Why is there so little investment in the neighboring countries hosting so many refugees? And why, the root question, is so little being done to stop the worst? The persecution and the poverty that is driving so many people to the shores of Europe. Until these issues are resolved, people will continue to take to the seas and to seek safety and asylum. And what happened next? Well, it is largely Europe's choice, and I understand the public fears. People are worried about their security, their economies, the changes of future. But is that more important than saving human lives? Because there is something fundamental here that I think overrides the race, and it is about our common humanity. No person feeling worse of persecution should have to die crossing a sea to reach safety. Applause. One thing is for sure, that no refugees will on those dangerous boats if they could thriving where they are, and no migrant will take that dangerous journey if they had enough food for themselves and their children, and no one will put their life savings in the hands of those notorious smugglers if there was a legal way to migrate. So on behalf of Little Masa and on behalf of Donna and of Basins and of those 500 people who drowned with them, can we make sure that they did not die in vain? Could we be inspired by what happened and take a stand for a world in which every life matters? Thank you. Bros. I'm Adam. My number is S034108 and my label is sophomore. See you next time. Bye bye.